You can learn to be a brewer, but you're never going to know about the business side. You can do accounting and you're never going to know about the production side. You almost have to spend some time in each department. I'm going to talk about starting a brewery and the things nobody tells you. There's probably 5 primary things. 1, you don't realize that beer gets old, right? The timing of when you brew beer and how long it lasts is kind of critical to your success. Really, beer is a food, right? It's like bread. If you put bread and you don't have it preserved or in the right packaging, it'll go bad and mold pretty quick. Well, same thing with beer. If you don't protect it, you gotta watch out for air in the bottles, you gotta watch out for a number of things. It's very, very difficult because timing matters in beer. So as you get bigger, the amount of beer you brew, the amount of different packages you have, and all that becomes trickier and trickier. The second thing is, I didn't realize how many ingredients, even though there are only 4 ingredients in beer, you know, the water that you have, the malts that you use, the hops that you use, and the yeast that you use, those 3 things matter so much because the combination of those things become very complex. Those products have to be the same ones you buy for that same beer you did to keep consistency. The third biggest things that I learned in the beer business that nobody told me was how critical logistics were. Where do I get the bottles from? Where do they come from? And where your brewery's located is so important. It's just critical that you are located in and around and you have relationships with people that can get the raw ingredients to you with a reasonable amount of costs and transportation costs. And the fourth thing that nobody really told me going into the beer business, or I learned over time, was how critical space was. And not just the ingredients coming in, but the storage space to then send out. Nobody really gives you an education about all the different complexities of how much space you really need in running a brewery. And the fifth thing about beer and owning a brewery and running a brewery were the taxes. The taxes that are involved in beer and how complex every state is and how different every state is in taxes. You have your federal taxes, excise taxes, which nobody sees when you buy beer, state and local taxes that you have, and all that is bundled into the sales price. But the complexity of taxes, because you can't really finance taxes that you have to pay, and then the federal government wants their money every 2 weeks to a month, and they're not waiting. That was the biggest surprise to me, was how long you had to wait to get paid. Your taxes would be like 15% of the cost of producing the beer sometimes, or even more. You think you sell the beer, you get paid, you're off, but you're oftentimes, the more successful you get, the more raw ingredients you need, the more inventory you need, the bigger your receivables get. You better have some good financial partners. In the early days, I was fortunate enough to have what ultimately became TD Bank, and now Gorham Savings Bank and Synovus Bank in Florida. These were all good partners because they would take the time to understand the business, give me the lines of credit to really float your inventory in the beer business, because the margins are pretty tight. In the early days, maybe you had 20-30% margins, and now they're much tighter on just general beer. It's in the 5 to 7, 10% range. I used to say we might make more money, get the money from the returnable bottles. Sometimes you felt that way, but it's a fun business. The beer business is fun if you keep it fun. And if you build a brand, that's where you can create some real value and upside. Is your biggest asset is your brand. These are things nobody really tells you going in. So my advice would be, if you want to get into the beer business, you want to learn the beer business, go to work for a brewery that's willing to share the whole picture with you. You can learn to be a brewer, but you're never going to know about the business side. You can do accounting and you're never going to know about the production side. You almost have to spend some time in each department. You better have a good partner or people around you that understand each of these departments really well. Forget about having to sell and market and promote the product itself. You might just think it's about having a good commercial or having a great beer, but I've seen a lot of great beers come and go because they didn't have all the different individual pieces to making it be successful. There have been so many great experiences I've had in the beer business over 33 years. I've been fortunate enough, even my competitors, I've been able to call them. I've been lucky enough to be able to call a Jim Cook who ran and created Sam Adams, and he'll return my call, or Sam Cliglione, who actually brewed in Kennebunk in his early days and learned to brew, and then went on to developed Dogfish Head. I've been able to be friends with pretty much most of my competitors recently. We've competed based on the quality of our products, the way we've tried to do business with other people, and treat our customers and our neighborhood, I like to say our community, as well as we possibly can. So it's been fun to be part of some of these nonprofit events that we've done, and we also have given money to people that are less fortunate in our community, the town I grew up in. So it's fun to be able to give back through beer, and it's those are some of the fun things that I've done over the years.